It's on. You guys hear me? I am so happy at the amount of people that are still here at the last speaker. Woohoo! Okay, I just want to go rogue here, so I might not sound as eloquent as anyone else who has stuff written on their paper. For anybody that's here that doesn't understand why we're here and they're just listening, whether to judge or to truly listen, I want to make it clear that when we say Black Lives Matter, we are not saying that they matter more. We are saying they need to matter as much as any other life that we deem worthy. So do not take the saying out of the context in which it was meant, please. And then I'll start. So. I want to preface this speech with this. When I was initially asked to be a speaker, I immediately knew I was going to say no. I could not risk my reputation or my words being taken out of context and used against me. I have been willing to have hard conversations in person and online with individuals. But to walk into a position where I may be in the public eye, that's terrifying. Ultimately, I said yes. I feel I have a responsibility to all of my children and especially to my Black son. I decided change cannot happen until we are willing to get uncomfortable. If we all played it safe all of the time, things could never change. This goes for anything in life. To those who are fighting for a just cause and a change in the world, we must not participate in or support in the widespread violence across our nation. Today's peaceful protest is in no way affiliated with any violence of any sort, and we condemn such actions. I want to encourage every one of you to lift up your local police officers and those in the public eye who support this movement and who are with us. They also need our support. Without it, they cannot help make a change. We can take a stand and not give in to temptation of expressing our rage in a violent manner. I want to talk about racism in its suppressed form. This is, in my opinion, what keeps the most unashamed, ill-intentioned racists supported and thriving, and one of the reasons why there is such great divide. Insidious racism. If you do not know what insidious means, it is defined as proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, but with harmful effects. This form of racism is larger than the KKK or any bands of white supremacists combined. We are all aware of blatant and overt racism. We are aware of those raised to hate those of a different color. Anyone who has a heart full of love and are inherently good have no desire to be connected with these individuals. But we must realize that we can absolutely be unintentionally racist when it comes to people of color. It may seem melodramatic or hasty when you often hear people like me point to a comment and labeling it as quote unquote racist. I'm often seen as a snowflake. The fact is, we have made it so those who speak up on unfair and hurtful racial comments or jokes are seen as weak. This is a technique used to stifle those who speak out against this more subtle form of racism. That needs to change. We have centuries of slavery under our belt, and then another 100 years of Jim Crow, which was only abolished 56 years ago, when a person of color couldn't even drink from the same fountain as that of a white man. It would be foolish of us to believe, in less than 60 short years, that racism is suddenly rare and we have undone centuries of systemic racism and bias. To put this into perspective, Black people have been free in this country for less time than they were enslaved. Most are only 2 to 3 generations away from slavery. No statistic can justify unwarranted harassment or unfair treatment or bias based on the color of one's skin. This is what the fight is all about. It is deeper than George Floyd. It is deeper than police brutality. George Floyd's death is the straw that broke the camel's back. I have never in my life been pulled over so often and for the most odd and minute things until I had a Black man in my car, and that is no coincidence. As a Mexican-American woman, throughout my high school years, I sat at a lunch table where I would be the target of many racial jokes. But only once did I ever say something. Up until then, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be that person that took a joke too seriously. But hindsight, really? At the time, I hadn't realized I myself had become numb to this subtle form of racism. It was racism disguised in the form of a joke. I want us all to strive to make sure that our kids come of age in a nation where all forms of racism, overt or more subtle, are immediately challenged. Even those who may sometimes consider themselves to be an ally oftentimes feed into the subtle racism. Here's one example from this past week I stumbled across online, shared by many people I love and who I know would never want to intentionally hurt their Black friends or their friends who have Black children. Here's what the meme is written as, and I'm sure many of you have seen it. Has anyone told them by rioting and looting, they're actually reinforcing the biggest stereotypes they want people to stop applying to them? But the majority read it as, has anyone told Black people that by rioting and looting, Black people are actually reinforcing the biggest stereotypes the Black community want people to stop applying to them? I have yet to see the latter meme cross my social media platform. And I think that's because it's obviously too overtly racist for anyone's taste. I hold no anger towards them, only a desire to help them see the harm being done by comments they make that they didn't even realize came from a place of ingrained and conditioned prejudice. To end this, I want to quote the words of my sister's sweet friend Holly. Trust me when I say it takes a lifetime to unlearn all of the implicit bias, prejudice, racism, and erroneous beliefs that are instilled in us, not just from our upbringing, but from the way we have experienced the world so differently. From Black and brown people, we aren't going to get it in a day. We are never going to be able to grasp the trauma and pain our Black and brown friends experience. Our feelings still will not scratch the surface of the grief and fear the Black community may feel. Our place right now is this: to educate ourselves on what we have been overlooking, to grieve alongside our Black friends, even though we cannot grasp the pain, to identify and act upon the ways to dismantle the system as it exists, to spend less time protesting social commentary on the method of protest and realize that our lens is not the infallible gospel truth, to listen, to encourage, and to use our privilege to benefit others. Black Lives Matter, period. Let's start taking actions and show that we mean those words.